Sometimes the smallest act of kindness cracks open the door to your greatest nightmare, and when that door swings wide, there's no closing it again. Before we begin this journey of betrayal, courage, and unexpected sisterhood, if stories of strength in the face of heartbreak move you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss a tale that could change how you see the world. Now, let's step into Amara's world just before it shatters. The November sun hung heavy over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold as Amara Okonkwo's Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon glided through the gates of Palm's shopping mall. The leather seats still held the faint scent of her favorite perfume, Chanel No. 5, and the air conditioning hummed a quiet, expensive lullaby. Everything about Amara's world whispered luxury, from the diamond studs in her ears to the soft Italian leather of her handbag. But money had never hardened her heart. "Madam, we don reach," her driver, Joseph, announced in his gentle Yoruba accent, bringing the vehicle to a smooth stop near the entrance. Amara glanced up from her phone, where she'd been reviewing the day's sales figures from her chain of boutique hotels. Business was booming. Life was good. Her husband, Chitty, had just texted her a heart emoji and a promise to be home early for dinner. 14 years of marriage, and he still made her smile. She gathered her purse, ready to step out for a quick shopping trip, new throw pillows for the living room, maybe some candles for the guest bathroom, when something caught her eye. A woman, heavily pregnant, sitting on a torn cardboard mat just outside the mall's pristine entrance. Her wrapper was faded, the colors long since beaten out by too many washes in harsh detergent and river water. Her feet were bare, dusty, swollen, but it was her face that stopped Amara cold. Young, so terribly young. And her belly, dear God, that belly looked ready to burst. "Madam, make we go inside," Joseph said quickly, noticing where her gaze had landed. "These people, na strategy dem de use. Before you know, dem go swarm you." Amara had heard it all before. The warnings, the cynicism, don't give them money, they'll just buy alcohol. Don't encourage them, there are shelters for that. Don't make eye contact or they'll follow you home. But something about this woman was different. Maybe it was the way she held her hands protectively over her belly, as if shielding the life inside from the cruelty of the world. Maybe it was the quiet dignity in her posture, even as she sat on garbage and dust. Or maybe it was simply that Amara had been blessed with so much, and this woman had so achingly little. "Wait here, Joseph." Madam." I said wait." Amara stepped out of the G-Wagon, her Louboutin heels clicking against the hot pavement. The contrast was jarring. Her in a cream silk blouse and tailored navy trousers, the beggar woman in rags that might have once been purple. The heat hit her immediately, thick and oppressive, but she walked forward anyway. The pregnant woman looked up, eyes widening in surprise. Up close, Amara could see the exhaustion carved into her features, the kind of tiredness that came from sleeping on concrete and waking up to hunger. But there was something else too, intelligence, sadness, and yes, that strange, nagging familiarity. "Good afternoon," Amara said softly in Igbo, crouching down despite the dust that would certainly ruin her trousers. The woman blinked rapidly, as if kindness was a language she'd forgotten how to speak. Good afternoon, Ma." Her voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. "When are you due?" The woman placed both hands on her belly. "Any day now, Ma. The clinic people say na twins." Twins? Carrying twins and sitting here in the scorching heat with nothing. Amara's heart clenched. She and Chitty had tried for years to have children. 3 miscarriages, 2 failed IVF attempts, and finally, acceptance. They'd poured their love into their nieces and nephews instead, into charity work, into each other. But seeing this woman, pregnant with 2 lives and utterly alone, it struck something deep. "Have you eaten today?" A pause, then a shake of the head. "Come," Amara stood, extending her hand. "Let me buy you lunch." "Ma," the woman stared at the outstretched hand, as if it might disappear. "Come," Amara repeated, more firmly this time. Slowly, with great effort, the pregnant woman accepted her hand and rose to her feet. She was taller than Amara had expected, and despite the hunger and exhaustion, there was a quiet strength in her frame. Joseph nearly had a heart attack when he saw them approaching the car. "Madam, wetin you dey do?" "Open the back door, Joseph." "But madam..." "Now." He obeyed, though his face was a portrait of disapproval and worry. Amara helped the woman into the back seat, the same seat where senators and CEOs had sat, and climbed in beside her. "There's a good restaurant just inside. We'll get you something hot to eat." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "God bless you, Ma. God bless you plenty." They attracted stares, of course. A woman in designer everything, guiding a pregnant beggar through the gleaming halls of Palms Mall. Amara ignored the whispers, the judgmental glances, the security guard who started to approach before thinking better of it. At the restaurant, a clean, air-conditioned haven that served jollof rice and grilled chicken that actually tasted like heaven, Amara ordered generously. Jollof rice, fried plantain, chicken, moi, fresh juice, bottled water. The woman ate like someone who'd forgotten what fullness felt like, tears streaming silently down her face between bites. Amara sipped her own juice and watched, her mind working. This wasn't just about a meal. This woman needed help, real help, prenatal care, a safe place to deliver those bobbies, maybe a fresh start. "What's your name?" Amara asked gently when the worst of the hunger seemed satisfied. The woman swallowed, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. "Nneka, Ma. My name na Nneka." "I'm Amara. Tell me, Nneka, do you have family? Anyone who can help you?" Nneka's face crumpled. I had somebody, the father of my bobbies. He promised me say we go marry, say he go take care of me." Her voice broke. "But when I tell him say I day carry Bell, he just come out. Change him number, everything." Amara's chest tightened with familiar anger. How many times had she heard this story? Men who took and disappeared the moment responsibility appeared. "I'm so sorry," she said and meant it. Nneka wiped her eyes with her wrapper. He was a big man, big car, big house, plenty money. I be made for one of him business partner, na so we meet." She laughed bitterly. "I been think say I don wise, but na mumu I be." "You're not foolish, he's the fool." Something flickered across Nneka's face, gratitude, surprise, and something else. Something that looked almost like recognition. "Ma," Nneka said slowly, her voice trembling, you too kind. Plenty people for this Lagos dem no day even see person like me. But you stop, you help." She paused, staring at Amara with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. Even if you know who I be, who my children papa be, you still help me." The question hung in the air, strange and weighted. "Of course," Amara said, confused. "Why wouldn't I?" Nneka's eyes filled with fresh tears, but these were different. Tears of fear, of guilt, of desperate, terrible knowledge. And then she whispered two words that turned Amara's world to ice. "Chidiakonkwo." The restaurant faded. The sounds dimmed. Everything narrowed to those two words hanging between them like a death sentence. Nneka was staring at her now, watching the recognition bloom into horror across Amara's face. "The father of my twins, Ma," Nneka whispered, her voice breaking. "Na your husband." The air conditioning in the restaurant suddenly felt like ice against Amara's skin. She sat frozen, her juice glass halfway to her lips, the world tilting on an axis she hadn't known could move. Chidiakonkwo. Her husband's name, spoken by this pregnant beggar woman, hung in the air between them like smoke from a funeral pyre. What did you say?" Amara's voice came out strangled, barely recognizable as her own. Nneka was crying now, full-body sobs that shook her swollen frame. "I'm sorry, Ma, I'm so sorry. I know no say na you be him wife until I see your picture for one magazine last month, for business section. Mr. and Mrs. Chidi Okonkwo, power couple." She laughed bitterly through her tears. "Na so I know say the man way ruin my life, na your husband." Amara's hand trembled so violently that juice sloshed over the rim of her glass. She set it down carefully, mechanically, Because if she didn't focus on something small and manageable, she would shatter into 1,000 pieces right there in the middle of this restaurant. "You're lying." The words came automatically, a defense mechanism her brain threw up against the impossibility of what she was hearing. "You saw my face, recognized me, and you're trying to." "I wish say na lie, Ma." Nneka wiped her face with her wrapper, leaving dusty streaks across her cheeks. "I wish with everything way day inside me say na lie, but I go tell you everything, and you go no say I no day lie." Amara's throat felt like sandpaper. Every instinct screamed at her to stand up, walk away, get back into her luxury car and drive home to her perfect life, her perfect marriage, her perfect husband who'd sent her a heart emoji just an hour ago. But she couldn't move. "Tell me," she whispered. Nneka took a shuddering breath, her hands protectively cradling her belly, the belly that supposedly carried Amara's husband's children. "I been day work as maid for one Oga Emeka, big contractor for Lekki side. Not almost 2 years now. Oga Emeka and your husband, dem day do business together. Property development, hotel supplies, something like that. So your husband, he day always come to the house for meetings." Amara knew Emeka. Chitty had mentioned him countless times. They were finalizing a deal for imported furniture for her hotel chain. The pieces were clicking together like a puzzle she desperately didn't want to solve. "The first time he see me, I day serve drinks during one meeting. He just day look me somehow, smile small. I no think anything of AM." Nneka's voice was distant now, lost in memory. "But he come back. When Oga Emeka no day around, he go come. Say he wan check some documents, some designs, but na me he day come see." "Stop," Amara whispered, but Nneka continued as if she hadn't heard. "He been sweet, Ma, kind. He tell me say I too fine, say I smart, say person like me no suppose day work as maid. He promise say he go help me go back to school, say he get connections." She laughed bitterly. "Not the oldest lie for book, Abby, but I been foolish, I been lonely. My mama Don die, my papa chase me come out from house because I no gree marry the old man way him choose for me. I no get anybody. And here this fine man, this rich man with him big car and him sweet mouth, day tell me say I special." Amara's nails dug into her palms. She wanted to scream at Nneka to stop, but she also needed to hear everything. Every terrible, devastating word. "It starts small, one lunch, one dinner. He tell me say him marriage no day work. Say him wife." Nneka's eyes flicked to Amara, shame written across her features. "Say she day always busy with business, say dem no get children, say he lonely." The lie hit Amara like a physical blow. Their marriage had been beautiful, loving. Yes, they were both busy, successful people, but they made time. Date nights every Friday, weekend getaways. They'd grieved their childlessness together, held each other through the pain. Or so she'd thought. He been day rent one small apartment for Aja. Say na for business, but na there we day meet. For 6 months, Ma. 6 months we been day see each other. Nneka's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "He been talk about leaving you. Say he go wait small, arrange everything proper, then him go divorce you and marry me. I believe am. God help me, I believe am." 6 months. While Amara had been working on expanding her hotel business, planning their anniversary trip, shopping for the perfect gift for Chitty's 45th birthday, he'd been with Nneka. In a rented apartment in Aja, planning a different future. "When I tell him say I day carry Bell, everything change." Nneka's tears flowed freely now. "Him face just turned to stone. He ask me if I sure say na him own. I tell him say I never sleep with any other man, only him. He tell me say I should. Say I should come out AM. Say he go give me money for clinic." "But you didn't," Amara heard herself say. "I no fit, Ma." Nneka placed both hands on her belly. "When dem tell me say na twins, I no fit kill them. I beg AM. I tell him say I go keep quiet, I no go embarrass AM, I just need small help to take care of the bobbies. He say he go think about AM. And then, he ghost me." The Americanism sounded strange in Nneka's pigeon-inflected speech. "Just like that, change him number. I go to Oga Emeka house, dem say Oga Don travel. I try to reach your husband for him office, security people pursue me. I been try everything, ma, everything. Until my bell begin big, and Oga Emeka find out and he sack me. Say he no want wahala with your husband. Say I be a shawo way one bring shame to him house. The restaurant sounds filtered back in slowly. The clatter of plates, the murmur of other diners' conversations, a child's laughter from somewhere nearby. The world was still turning, even though Amara's had stopped. You have proof. The question came from some distant, rational part of her brain that still functioned. Nneka nodded quickly. I get text messages, photos, Seth, before he block me. We been day send messages. And the apartment for Aja, I know the address. I fit show you. Plus, she hesitated. The clinic way I day go for free antenatal care, dem get all the record. The doctors fit confirm say na twins, say the date when I take bell match with when we been day together. Amara's phone buzzed in her purse. She pulled it out with numb fingers. Chitty, running late, baby. This meeting is taking forever. Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you, Red. The heart emoji mocked her. Love you, love you, love you. While his pregnant mistress sat across from his wife in a restaurant, about to give birth to his twins. Show me, Amara said, her voice cold and hard as diamond. Show me everything. Nneka pulled out a battered phone from somewhere in the folds of her wrapper. The screen was cracked, held together with tape, but it still worked. She hesitated for just a moment, then unlocked it and passed it to Amara. The first photo made Amara's stomach heave. Chitty, her Chitty, lying in bed, not their bed, some unfamiliar bed with cheap floral sheets, with his arm around Nneka. Both of them smiling, happy. His face relaxed in a way she recognized, the way he looked on lazy Sunday mornings when it was just the two of them. Except it wasn't just the two of them. It had never been just the two of them. She scrolled, more photos. Chitty and Nneka at a roadside buka, eating from the same plate. Chitty's hand on Nneka's shoulder at what looked like a movie theater. A selfie of Nneka blowing a kiss at the camera, with Chitty visible in the background, laughing. Then the messages. Chitty, can't stop thinking about you, my beautiful Nneka. Chitty, you make me feel young again. Thank you for bringing joy back into my life. Chitty, soon, baby. Soon we'll be together properly. Just need to handle some things first. Chitty, I'm falling for you. Is that crazy? The dates. December last year, January, February, March, April, May, that's when the messages stopped abruptly. Right around when Nneka would have told him about the pregnancy. Amara scrolled back further, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. There were dozens of messages, hundreds maybe, a whole relationship, documented in blue and gray bubbles on a cracked phone screen. The apartment, Nneka said quietly, taking the phone back. I fit tell you the address. Number 14B, Graceland Estate, Aja, 2-bedroom, him get key. Him been pay 6 months advance, but that dawn expire. I no fit go there anymore. Graceland Estate. Amara knew it. They'd driven past it on their way to a beach resort last Christmas. Chitty had pointed it out, mentioned something about property investments in that area. Had he been lying even then? Had they driven past his love nest while she sat beside him, trusting, believing, loving? Ma, Nneka's voice was small, frightened. I know come here to destroy your marriage, I swear to God. When I see you for outside, I know even no say na you. I just been hungry and hopping say somebody, anybody, go show small mercy. And when you stop, when you been kind to me. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I know fit lie to you. I know fit take your kindness and still hide this thing. Amara stared at this woman. This young, desperate, pregnant woman who just detonated her entire life, and felt something crack open inside her chest. Nneka hadn't asked for this meeting. Hadn't engineered this confrontation. She'd been sitting on a piece of cardboard, starving and heavily pregnant, and Amara had chosen to stop, had chosen to help. And in doing so, had uncovered a betrayal so complete, so total, that it made her 14-year marriage feel like a lie written in disappearing ink. How far along are you? Amara asked, her voice eerily calm. 7 months plus, Ma. The doctors say the bobbies fit come any time now. Twins' dem day always come early. 7 months. Amara counted backward. October. November. That was when she and Chitty had been planning their anniversary trip to Dubai, when they'd stayed up late discussing expansion plans for the business, when he'd held her after she'd gotten emotional about another negative pregnancy test, whispering that she was enough, that their life was complete as it was. All lies, all of it. The drive from the restaurant to a quiet medical clinic in Victoria Island passed in a blur. Amara had called her personal doctor, a woman she'd known for years, who asked no questions when Amara requested an immediate appointment for a pregnant woman who needed care. Joseph drove in complete silence, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror where both women sat in the back seat, the wife and the mistress, side by side in a German luxury vehicle that cost more than most people's houses. Nneka had tried to protest, saying she couldn't afford a private doctor, but Amara had silenced her with a look. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about facts, evidence, truth. At the clinic, Dr. Ademi took one look at Nneka's swollen feet and exhausted face and immediately ushered them into a private examination room. While she examined Nneka, Amara sat in the corner, her mind working through possibilities, logistics, and the systematic dismantling of everything she'd believed about her life. 7 months and 3 weeks, Dr. Ademi confirmed, her face creased with concern. And yes, definitely twins, both boys from what I can see on the ultrasound. Mrs. Okonkwo, this woman needs immediate bed rest and proper nutrition. Her blood pressure is elevated, and she's showing signs of preterm labor stress. These bobbies could come any day. 2 boys, Chitty's sons, the sons he'd wanted, had grieved not having with Amara, were growing inside another woman's belly while he sent heart emojis to his wife and pretended everything was perfect. "Can you date the conception?" Amara asked, her voice clinical. "Approximately." Dr. Ademi glanced at Nneka, who nodded permission. "Based on the ultrasound and her last menstrual period, I'd say conception occurred around late April, early May of last year." April, when Chitty had claimed to be in Abuja for a week-long conference, when Amara had been managing a crisis at one of her hotels, a kitchen fire that required her complete attention, when she'd barely talked to her husband except for quick good-night calls, when he'd been conceiving twin sons with his mistress. "Thank you, Dr. Ademi," Amara said, standing. "I'd like to cover all of Nneka's medical expenses going forward. Prenatal care, delivery, postnatal care for her and the bobbies, everything." The doctor's eyes widened slightly, but she was professional enough not to ask questions. "Of course. I'll have my receptionist draw up a care plan and handle the billing." Outside the clinic, standing in the golden afternoon sun, Amara turned to Nneka. The younger woman looked terrified, clutching the packet of prenatal vitamins and supplements Dr. Ademi had provided. "Thank you, Ma," Nneka whispered. I know no wetin to say. After everything, after I done destroy your life with this news, you still—" "You didn't destroy my life," Amara interrupted, her voice hard. "My husband did that all by himself. You were just another victim." "But the bobbies are innocent. Whatever happens between their father and me, they didn't ask to be brought into this mess." Amara pulled out her phone, opening a notes app. "I'm going to ask you some questions. I need you to tell me everything: dates, places, witnesses, anything you can remember. Can you do that?" Nneka nodded slowly. "The apartment in Aja. When was the last time you were there?" "June, Ma. When I tell him about the bell, he meet me there. That not the last time I see him." "And the apartment would have what? His clothes, personal items?" "Some clothes, yes. Him toothbrush. Some papers, Seth, inside the drawer for the bedroom. I no really look, but I see some documents with him name." "Evidence, documentation, proof." Amara typed rapidly. "Oga Emeka's house. How long did you work there?" 2 years, Ma." "And other staff. Did anyone else know about you and Chitty?" Nneka hesitated. "The gateman oughto, him been day see when Oga Chitty come when Oga Emeka no day around. And one time the other housegirl, blessing, she catch us for the guest room. She no talk, but she know. More witnesses, more evidence. Did he ever give you money? Transfer to your account? Yes, ma, bank transfer. Every month him day send me 20,000 naira, sometimes more. I still get the bank statements for my phone. Bank transfers, a paper trail that even the best lawyer couldn't erase. Amara felt something cold and clear settle over her heart. This wasn't just about confronting a cheating husband. This was about protecting herself, protecting her assets, and yes, protecting these innocent bobbies who would be born into a world not of their making. I'm going to help you, Amara said quietly. But first, I need to do something. Can you stay with Dr. Ademi for a few hours? She has a rest area at the clinic. But ma... Nneka, Amara looked the younger woman in the eyes. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? After a long moment, Nneka nodded. Amara went back inside, spoke briefly with Dr. Ademi, and arranged for Nneka to rest at the clinic while she made some phone calls. Then she climbed back into her G-Wagon, where Joseph waited patiently. Home, madam? He asked carefully. No. Amara pulled out her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found the name she needed. Graceland Estate, Aja, number 14B. Joseph's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. He'd been with the family for 8 years. He was loyal, discreet, and not stupid. He'd put the pieces together. Madam, he started, but couldn't seem to find the words. Drive, Joseph. The 30-minute drive to Aja gave Amara time to think. Her lawyer, Kioma Oak, sharp as broken glass and ruthless when needed, answered on the second ring. Amara, I was just thinking about you. How's? Kioma, I need you to answer a question, and I need you to be completely honest with me. The playfulness left Kioma's voice immediately. What's wrong? If I were to discover that my husband had committed adultery, fathered children outside our marriage, and misappropriated marital funds to maintain an apartment for his mistress, how would that affect divorce proceedings? Silence on the other end. Then, Amara, what happened? Answer the question first. In Lagos, with documented evidence, you'd have grounds for divorce with significant asset protection. The adultery clause in your prenup alone would. She paused. Wait, you have a prenup? We do. Drafted 12 years ago when we merged our businesses. Both parties forfeit their share of jointly acquired assets in cases of proven infidelity. Then if you can prove it, and I mean really prove it, not just suspicions, you'd walk away with everything you brought into the marriage plus half of what you've built together. He'd be left with his original assets and nothing more. The stakes were high. Chitty's original assets amounted to one restaurant and a small import business. Everything else, the hotels, the properties, the investments, they'd built together using primarily Amara's family money and business acumen. I can prove it, Amara said. Send me a list of everything you'll need. I'll have it for you by tomorrow. Amara. Tomorrow, Kioma. She hung up. They pulled up to Graceland Estate as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting everything in shades of orange and gold. The irony wasn't lost on Amara, discovering her husband's betrayal during Lagos's golden hour, the time when everything looked beautiful and deceptive and heartbreaking all at once. The security guard recognized the expensive car and didn't ask questions when Joseph said they were there to check on a property at 14. Money spoke louder than protocol. The apartment was on the second floor of a modest building, painted appealing yellow. Nothing like the luxury homes Amara was used to, but clean enough, respectable enough for a man hiding his secrets. Madam, how we go enter? Joseph asked, eyeing the locked door. Amara had thought about this. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number she'd never thought she'd use, Emeka, Chitty's business partner. Mrs. Okonkwo, what a pleasant surprise, is everything. Emeka, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Do you know about the apartment my husband rents in Graceland Estate? The silence that followed told her everything. Emeka, she continued, her voice sharp enough to cut, I'm standing outside that apartment right now, and I'm about to break down the door if I have to. Or you can tell me if you have a spare key, since I understand this is one of your properties." "Amara, I didn't. He said it was for business storage, I never." "The key, Emeka." "The caretaker, Mr. Benson. He's there now, should be in the office on the ground floor. He has master keys to all the units." 10 minutes later, Amara stood inside apartment 14B, and what remained of her heart shattered completely. It was lived in, cozy. There were photos on the walls, not of Nneka. Chitty had been smart enough to avoid that, but generic romantic prints. Sunset beaches, holding hands silhouettes. The bedroom had a queen-sized bed with those floral sheets she'd seen in the photos. Chitty's watch, an expensive Omega she'd given him for their 10th anniversary, sat on the nightstand. In the closet, 3 of his suits, his favorite cologne, shoes. In the bathroom, his toothbrush, razor, shaving cream. In the kitchen, his preferred brand of coffee, his special protein powder for his morning smoothies. This wasn't a casual affair carried out in hotels and backseats. This was a second life, a parallel existence where her husband played house with a woman young enough to be his daughter. Joseph stood in the doorway, his face a mask of rage on behalf of his employer. "Madam, whatten you want make I do?" "Document everything," Amara said, pulling out her phone. "Every photo, every item with his name on it, every single piece of evidence." She moved through the apartment systematically, photographing everything. In the bedroom drawer, exactly as Nneka had said, she found documents, rental agreements in Chitty's name, receipts for furniture, and most damning of all, a greeting card. "To my dearest Chitty," it read in Nneka's handwriting. "Thank you for making me believe in love again. Forever yours, Nneka." Dated February 14th, Valentine's Day. The same day Chitty had taken Amara to Eco Hotel for a romantic dinner and told her she was the only woman he'd ever truly loved. Amara sat down on the edge of the bed where her husband had made love to another woman, where he'd conceived the sons he'd always wanted. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she let herself feel it. Not the anger, not the betrayal, but the grief. 14 years. 14 years of building a life together, of supporting each other through business struggles and personal heartbreak, of holding each other through her miscarriages and his father's death, of believing, truly believing, that what they had was real and lasting and true. All of it built on a foundation of lies. Her phone buzzed, a message from Chitty. "Chitty, meeting finally over, on my way home. Want me to pick up anything? Maybe that wine you like from Park End's shop, red." Amara stared at the message for a long moment. Then she took a deep breath, stood up, and pocketed her phone without responding. "Joseph," she said, her voice steady now, calm with terrible purpose. "Take me back to the clinic, then go home, get the guest room ready. We're going to have a visitor for a while." "Madam, Nneka is 7 months pregnant with twins. She's homeless, malnourished, and in danger of premature labor. She's coming to stay with us." Joseph's eyes widened. But Oga Chitty will come home tonight and find his pregnant mistress sitting in our living room." Amara smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "I want to see his face when his 2 worlds collide. I want to watch him try to lie his way out of this one. And then," her voice turned to steel, "then I'm going to take everything." Will Chitty's lies finally catch up with him? Can 2 betrayed women find strength in each other? And what will happen when the man who destroyed both their lives comes face to face with the consequences of his actions? Don't miss what is coming next, a wife's silent test. If this story is gripping your heart, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the explosive confrontation coming next. Drop a comment below, Team Amara or Team Walk Away. Let's talk. The guest room on the 2nd floor of the Okonkwo mansion had always been Amara's pride, decorated in soft creams and golds, with an ensuite bathroom and a view of the garden where bougainvillea bloomed in violent shades of purple. It had hosted senators, business moguls, Amara's mother during her visits from Enugu. Now it would host her husband's pregnant mistress. "Madam, you sure say this na the right thing?" Joseph asked for the third time as he helped bring in the bags of maternity clothes and supplies Amara had purchased during a rapid shopping trip, while Nneka rested at the clinic. "No," Amara answered honestly, hanging dresses in the closet. "But it's what I'm doing anyway." By 6 p.m., Nneka was installed in the guest room, showered, fed, and looking terrified. She kept touching the silk curtains, the plush duvet, as if afraid they might disappear. "Ma, I no understand," she whispered, her eyes wide. "Why you dey do all this? After everything you suppose hate me, chase me away, but instead—" She gestured helplessly at the luxury surrounding her. Amara sat down on the edge of the bed, her face unreadable. "Do you know what I realized today, Nneka? You're not my enemy. You're a victim of the same man who betrayed me. The difference is I have money and power to fight back. You have nothing." She paused. "Also, I want him to see you. I want him to look into the face of what he's done, and I want to see if he's capable of even one honest word." "But Ma, if he see me here—" "Let him see." Amara's voice was cold. "Let him try to explain. Let him try to lie. And when he does, I'll know exactly who I married." At 7:15 p.m., Amara heard the familiar sound of Chitty's Mercedes pulling into the driveway. Her heart, traitorous thing that it was, still jumped at the sound. 14 years of conditioning didn't disappear in one afternoon. She was sitting in the living room, a glass of wine in her hand. Though she hadn't drunk any of it, dressed in one of Chitty's favorite dresses, a deep green number that brought out her eyes. She wanted to look perfect, composed, utterly in control. "Baby, I'm home." Chitty's voice rang through the foyer, warm and affectionate. The voice of a man who loved his wife, who had nothing to hide. "Liar." He walked into the living room, loosening his tie, and stopped when he saw her sitting there so formally. "Hey, everything okay? You look like you're waiting to interview me for a job." Amara smiled. It felt like acid on her lips. "How was your day, darling?" "Long. That meeting with the contractors ran forever. You know how it is." He leaned down to kiss her forehead, and it took every ounce of Amara's self-control not to flinch away. "What about you? How was shopping? Did you find those pillows you wanted?" "I found something much more interesting than pillows," Amara said, taking a slow sip of wine she couldn't taste. "Tell me, Chitty, do you believe in fate?" He laughed, puzzled, dropping into the armchair across from her. "That's a philosophical question for a Tuesday evening. What brought this on?" "I was thinking about how we met. Remember, that business conference in Abuja? You spilled coffee on my presentation notes." "Best accident of my life," Chitty said, his smile warm and genuine, or was it? Could she even tell anymore? "Led me to the love of my life." "The love of your life," Amara repeated slowly. "That's beautiful, Chitty, really. Do you say that to all your women?" The smile froze on his face. "What?" "I met someone today," Amara continued conversationally, as if discussing the weather. "A young woman, pregnant, desperate, sitting outside Palms Mall with nowhere to go." She watched his face carefully. The color drained from his cheeks so quickly she thought he might faint. "Amara." "Don't." She held up a hand. "Not yet, I'm not finished. You see, this young woman, she told me the most interesting story, about a powerful man who promised her the world, who rented an apartment in Aja number 14B, Graceland Estate, to be specific, who told her his marriage was unhappy, that his wife didn't understand him. The oldest lies in the book, really, almost embarrassingly unoriginal." Chitty stood up so fast his chair nearly tipped over. "Amara, listen to me." "I said not yet." The scream tore out of her, 14 years of perfect composure shattering like glass. "You will sit down, you will shut up, and you will listen to every word I have to say. You owe me that much at least." He sat, his hands trembling. Amara stood, setting down her wine glass with deliberate care. "I went to that apartment today. Nice place. Modest but cozy. I saw your suits in the closet, your cologne in the bathroom, your favorite coffee in the kitchen. I saw the life you built there, the life you've been living while coming home to me and pretending everything was perfect." "It meant nothing," Chitty whispered. "Amara, please, it was a mistake. Nothing." Her laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. Is that what you call the twins she's carrying? Nothing. Are your sons nothing to you? The word hung in the air like a bomb. Sons. She watched it hit him, watched his face transform from guilty fear to something else. Shock, yes, but also something that looked dangerously like hope. Twins, his voice cracked. She's there. Boys, Amara said, and each word was a dagger. Both boys, 7 months along, your sons, Chitty, the sons you wanted so badly, the sons I couldn't give you. He started crying then, actual tears rolling down his face. Amara, I never meant. I didn't plan. It just happened, and then I was in too deep, and I didn't know how to stop without destroying everything. So instead you destroyed her, cast her out onto the streets while your children grew in her belly. Very noble. I panicked. He was on his feet again, moving toward her. When she told me about the pregnancy, I panicked. I thought about you, about our life, about everything we've built, and I couldn't think straight. I know I'm a coward. I know I'm the worst kind of man. But Amara, please, I love you. Only you. This thing with her, it was just. If you say it meant nothing one more time, I will walk out of this house right now, and you will never see me again. He fell silent. Do you want to know the worst part? Amara asked, and her voice had gone quiet now, which was somehow more terrifying than her screams. Not the affair, not even the lies, but the fact that you could look at a pregnant woman carrying your children and just discard her, change your number, disappear. What kind of man does that? A man who was terrified of losing his wife, Chitty said desperately. A man who made a terrible mistake and didn't know how to fix it. You're right about one thing, Amara said. You're about to lose your wife. But before I go, before I take you for everything you're worth in divorce court, I want you to do one thing. Anything, Amara, anything, I swear. I want you to meet her, really meet her. Not as your dirty little secret, but as a human being whose life you've destroyed. What? She's upstairs, Amara said, watching his face go from red to white. In the guest room. I brought her here, fed her, clothed her, gave her medical care, all the things you should have done months ago. You brought her here. Chitty looked like he might vomit. Amara, are you insane? Maybe, or maybe I'm finally sane after 14 years of sleepwalking through a marriage built on lies. She walked to the stairs, paused, looked back at him. Come on, Chitty. Let's go meet the mother of your children, unless you're too much of a coward. The walk up the stairs felt like a funeral procession. Chitty followed her like a man walking to his execution, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Amara knocked once on the guest room door, then opened it. Nneka was sitting on the bed, her hands protectively over her swollen belly. When she saw Chitty, her face crumpled with a mixture of fear, anger, and heartbreaking hope. Chitty, she whispered. He froze in the doorway, staring at her as if she were a ghost. And perhaps she was, the ghost of his mistakes made flesh, growing 2 lives that would tie him to his sins forever. You told her, he said, his voice hollow. I no get choice, Nneka said, tears streaming down her face. She been kind to me, fed me, helped me. I no fit lie to her face, not after all that. How touching, Amara said. Even your mistress has more integrity than you. Chitty turned to her, his face desperate. Amara, please, can we talk about this privately? No, whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of both of us. After all, we're all in this together now, aren't we? One big happy family. He looked between them, his wife, composed and deadly calm, and his mistress, pregnant and terrified. 2 women he'd wronged in different ways, now united in the wreckage of his lies. I'm sorry, he said, and it was the most inadequate thing he could have said. Sorry, Amara repeated. He's sorry, Nneka. Did you hear that? The man who promised you marriage, who got you pregnant with twins, who threw you away like garbage, he's sorry. Amara. What was the plan, Chitty? Amara turned on him. Were you just going to let her and your children starve, die on the streets? Or did you think if you ignored it long enough, the problem would just disappear? I don't know. He was shouting now, all pretense of control gone. I don't know, okay? I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, and then I made it worse by running from it instead of facing it. I know I'm a coward. I know I'm a failure as a man, but what do you want me to do? Go back in time and unmake my mistakes. I want you, Amara said, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more weight than any shout, to look at her. Really look at her. Look at what you've done. Chitty turned to Nneka. For a long moment, they stared at each other, former lovers now strangers, connected only by the lives growing in her belly. I'm sorry, he said again, and this time his voice broke. Nneka, I'm so sorry. I should have been stronger. I should have helped you. I was scared and selfish, and I failed you. I failed both of you. Nneka was sobbing now. I no need your sorry. I need you to take care of your children. These bobbies, dem no ask to come to this world, but dem they come, and they go need their father. I'll take care of them, Chitty said quickly. Financial support, anything they need, I swear. Your word means nothing, Amara cut in. But legal documents do. Tomorrow morning, you're going to meet with my lawyer. You're going to set up trust funds for those boys. You're going to ensure Nneka has housing, health care, and child support, all documented, all legal, all enforceable by law. Yes, Chitty said immediately. Yes, whatever you want. And then, Amara continued, you're going to move out of this house. The silence that followed was deafening. What? Chitty breathed. I need time, Chitty, time to think, time to decide if our marriage is salvageable or if it died today along with my trust in you. Amara's voice was steady, but her hands shook. You can stay at your mother's, or at a hotel, or at your love nest in Aja for all I care, but you're not staying here. Amara, please. Get out. Baby, let's just talk about this. Get out, the scream tore through the house. Get out, get out, get out. I can't look at you right now. I can't breathe the same air. I can't. Her voice broke, and for the first time since this nightmare began, Amara's armor cracked completely. She sank to the floor, her perfect composure shattering into sobs that shook her whole body. 14 years of love, trust, and partnership gone, just gone. Nneka moved from the bed, awkwardly lowering herself to sit beside Amara on the floor. She didn't touch her, didn't speak, just sat there. Two women destroyed by the same man, finding strange solidarity in shared pain. Chitty stood in the doorway, watching his life implode, and for once had nothing to say. I'll pack a bag, he finally whispered. Neither woman looked at him. 20 minutes later, the sound of his car pulling out of the driveway was the loneliest sound Amara had ever heard. 3 weeks passed like a fever dream. Chitty stayed at his mother's house in Ikoyi, calling every day, sending flowers, leaving voicemails that ranged from desperate apologies to angry accusations that Amara was overreacting. She ignored them all. Nneka stayed in the guest room, slowly transforming from a skeletal shadow into something that resembled a healthy pregnant woman. Amara watched this transformation with complicated feelings, satisfaction that she was doing the right thing, mingled with the knife twist of knowing these weren't her bobbies, would never be her bobbies. The lawyers moved fast. Kioma Oak was as ruthless as Amara had hoped. Within 2 weeks, she had documentation of everything: the apartment lease, the bank transfers, witness statements from Oga Emeka's household staff, and a paternity agreement that Chitty had signed without protest, probably hoping it would win him points with his wife. It didn't. The prenup is clear, Kioma said, sitting in Amara's home office, papers spread across the desk. Infidelity clause, you have irrefutable proof. If you proceed with divorce, you walk away with your original assets plus approximately 60% of jointly acquired property. He gets his restaurant, his import business, and that's about it. And the children. The trust funds are established. Each boy gets 3 million naira immediately, with monthly deposits of 200,000 naira until they're 18, then full access to the funds. Nneka gets a monthly stipend of 400,000 naira for childcare, plus housing, a 3-bedroom flat in a decent area, already secured. Medical, educational, everything's covered. Good. Amara stared out the window at her garden, where Nneka was taking a slow walk under Joseph's watchful eye. The heavily pregnant woman moved carefully, one hand supporting her back, the other on her belly. What about custody? Chitty has agreed to supervised visitation once the children are born, increasing to unsupervised as they get older. He won't fight for custody. He knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Amara nodded slowly. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned, so why did she feel so empty? "There's one more thing," Kioma said carefully. "He's asking to speak with you, face to face, he says. He says he has something he needs to say before you make your final decision." "No." "Amara." "I said no, Kioma. I don't want to hear his explanations or his excuses or his promises that he'll change. I've heard enough lies to last a lifetime." But that night, as Amara lay alone in the master bedroom she'd once shared with Chitty, staring at the ceiling and listening to the silence, she wondered if she was being a coward. Wondered if walking away without confrontation was the brave thing or the easy thing. The answer came at 2 a.m. when Nneka started screaming. Amara bolted from bed, running down the hall in her nightgown. She found Nneka doubled over in the guest room, clutching her belly, her face twisted in pain. "The Bobbies," Nneka gasped. "Ma, the Bobbies' day come." The next hours were a blur of panic and organized chaos. Joseph, bless him, had the car running in under 3 minutes. Dr. Ademi met them at the hospital. Nurses swarmed. Amara held Nneka's hand through contractions that seemed to tear the younger woman apart from the inside. "Call him," Nneka panted between contractions. "Please, Ma, call their father. Whatever him do, these na still him children. Him suppose day here." Amara wanted to refuse, wanted to let Chitty miss this, let him feel the loss of not being there when his sons came into the world. But she looked at Nneka's face, young, scared, in pain, and remembered that this wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about her hurt feelings or her broken heart. This was about 2 innocent Bobbies about to be born. She made the call. Chitty arrived at the hospital looking like he'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. His clothes were rumpled, his face unshaven, his eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep or crying or both. "Amara," he started, but she cut him off. "Don't just go, room 304, she's asking for you." He looked at her for a long moment, opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it and hurried down the hall. Amara stayed in the waiting room, packing, her mind a mess of emotions she couldn't untangle. 30 minutes became an hour became 2. Then a nurse emerged, smiling. "Mrs. Okonkwo, the Bobbies are here, 2 healthy boys, mother is doing well." Relief flooded through Amara so intensely it almost brought her to her knees. "Thank God," she whispered. "Would you like to see them?" The question hung in the air. Would she? Did she want to see the living proof of her husband's betrayal, the sons he'd created with another woman while their marriage slowly died? "Yes," Amara heard herself say. "Yes, I would." The delivery room was a mess of medical equipment and exhausted joy. Nneka lay in the bed. Her hair plastered to her forehead with sweat, looking utterly drained and completely radiant. Chitty stood beside her, holding one of the Bobbies, tears streaming down his face. He looked up when Amara entered, and the expression on his face was so raw, so unguarded, that it stopped her in her tracks. "Amara," he whispered, look at them." 2 tiny humans, wrapped in blue blankets, their faces scrunched up and red. They were perfect, absolutely perfect. "You want hold one?" Nneka asked softly, offering the baby in her arms. Amara's first instinct was to refuse, but something pulled her forward, and before she knew it, she was cradling a newborn boy against her chest, feeling his warmth, his impossible lightness, the flutter of his breath against her neck. Her heart, already shattered, broke again in a completely different way. What will you name them?" she asked, not looking at Chitty, focusing entirely on the baby in her arms. "We no discuss 'em yet," Nneka said, but I been say maybe." She paused, her voice trembling. "Maybe Amara deserved to choose if she want." Amara's head snapped up. "What?" "You saved my life, Ma. You saved their lives. If you no stop for me that day, I for dawn die for street with them still inside me. These boys, them day alive because of you." Tears rolled down Nneka's cheeks. So if you want name them, or if you want choose one name, I go day honored. The room was silent, except for the soft beeping of medical equipment and the tiny sounds the bobbies made. Amara looked down at the boy in her arms. His eyes were closed, his little fist curled against his mouth. She felt something shift inside her, not love, not yet, but the possibility of something like it. Chibus, she said softly, it means God is king. Because only God could have orchestrated something this painful and this beautiful at the same time. Chibus, Nneka repeated, smiling through her tears. Not perfect, and the second one. You choose, Amara said, carefully handing the baby back. They're your sons, Nneka, yours and... She finally looked at Chidi. His. Chidi was staring at her with such intensity it was almost uncomfortable. Amara, I... Don't, she said again. Not here, not now. But as she turned to leave, he called out, Amara, wait, please. She stopped but didn't turn around. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. For everything you've done, for being stronger and kinder and better than I ever deserved. I know I destroyed us. I know there's no going back. But I need you to know. You are the best person I've ever met. And losing you is the price I'll pay for my sins for the rest of my life. Amara stood there for a long moment, feeling the weight of his words, feeling the future branching out before her in two distinct paths. Then she walked out without responding. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized on a Tuesday morning in April. The proceedings had been swift, with such clear evidence of infidelity, there was little Chidi's lawyers could do. Amara walked out of the courthouse with her assets intact, her dignity preserved, and her heart still healing. Nneka and the boys lived in a comfortable flat in Lekki, where Amara visited once a week. She'd been surprised by her own need to see them. The bobbies who were evidence of her marriage's death had somehow become a strange form of life raft. Watching them grow, watching Nneka blossom into confident motherhood, gave Amara purpose when her own life felt directionless. You no need to keep coming, Ma, Nneka said one afternoon, as Amara held Chibus while his brother, Chukwubuka, God's grace, Nneka's choice, slept in his crib. I know say e day pain you. I see 'em for your face every time you look at them. It does hurt, Amara admitted, but it's a good hurt, a healing hurt. Does that make sense? No, but I no go question AM. Nneka smiled, then grew serious. Ma, I want to ask you something. Why you really do all this? Help me protect the boys, make sure everything day's sorted. No more than just being kind. You fit easily just divorce Oga Chidi, collect your money, and forget say we exist. But instead, you involve yourself for everything. Why? Amara was quiet for a long moment, stroking Chibu's soft hair. Because, she finally said, I realized something that day I met you outside the mall. I'd spent 14 years building a life that looked perfect from the outside, but I'd lost myself in the process. I'd become this polished, controlled version of who I thought a successful woman should be. And then I met you, broken, desperate, honest in a way I hadn't been in years, and something in me recognized something in you. What? Strength, Amara said simply. You could have aborted those bobbies when Chidi abandoned you. You could have become bitter and angry, but instead you chose life. You chose hope, even when you had nothing to hope for. That's not weakness, Nneka. That's the strongest thing I've ever seen. Nneka's eyes filled with tears. But I was just trying to survive, Ma. Exactly, and you taught me how to do the same. Amara smiled. Also, I'm not doing this just for you, I'm doing it for me, because helping you heal is helping me heal. Because making sure these boys have everything they need is my way of creating something good from something terrible. And because... She paused, surprised by her own words. Because maybe this is what grace looks like. Not revenge, not justice, just choosing to love even when it costs you everything. Grace, Nneka repeated softly. Grace. They sat in comfortable silence, two women who'd been brought together by betrayal and had somehow found something like friendship in the wreckage. Chidi visited the boys every Saturday. At first, Amara made sure to be gone during those visits, but over time she'd begun to overlap with him, brief, polite exchanges in Nneka's living room, nothing more. He looked different now, humbler, broken in a way that suggested genuine remorse rather than performative guilt. He'd started therapy, he'd told her during one awkward encounter, was trying to understand why he'd sabotaged the best thing in his life. Amara had simply nodded and left. But this particular Saturday, as she was preparing to leave, Chitty stopped her at the door. "Amara, can we talk, just for a moment?" She considered refusing, but something in his face made her pause. One moment. They stepped outside into the afternoon sun, standing on the small balcony overlooking Lecky's chaotic streets. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," Chitty began. "I don't deserve that, and I'm not trying to win you back. I know that ship has sailed and burned and sunk to the bottom of the ocean." "Then what do you want?" "To say thank you, and to say I'm sorry, really, truly sorry." He turned to look at her, and she was startled by how much older he looked. "I've spent 6 months in therapy trying to understand how I could do what I did. To you, to Nneka, to those boys. And you know what I learned." "What?" "That I was terrified. Terrified of getting old, of not being important anymore, of being just another middle-aged businessman in a city full of them. And when Nneka looked at me like I was special, like I was exciting, I let it feed my ego instead of shutting it down. I chose feeling young and desired over honoring my vows, over protecting you." Amara felt something loosen in her chest, not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know it wasn't your fault. You were perfect, Amara, you are perfect. I was just too broken to appreciate what I had until I destroyed it." He smiled sadly. "And because I needed you to know that watching you these past 6 months, watching you turn your pain into purpose, watching you choose grace when you could have chosen revenge, has made me want to be a better man. Not for you because I've lost that right, but for myself, for those boys." They stood in silence, the sounds of Lagos rising around them, car horns, music from a distant church, children shouting in play. "I don't forgive you," Amara said finally. "Not yet, maybe not ever, but I don't hate you anymore either, and that's something." "That's more than I deserve," Chitty's voice cracked. I hope someday you find someone who treats you the way you should have been treated, someone who appreciates what a gift you are." "Maybe I will," Amara said. "Or maybe I'll just focus on being my own gift for a while." She turned to leave, then paused. "Chitty." "Yeah. Those boys in there, they're lucky to have you as a father. Not because of who you were, but because of who you're trying to become. Don't waste this chance to get it right." His eyes filled with tears. "I won't, I promise." As Amara walked to her car, she felt something she hadn't felt in months, lightness. Not happiness exactly, but the absence of crushing weight. The beginning of freedom. Her phone buzzed with a message from Kioma. "Board meeting next week to discuss the new hotel acquisition. You available?" "Business, purpose, forward motion." Amara smiled and typed back, "Definitely. Send me the details." Life wasn't perfect. Her heart still ached sometimes when she thought about the 14 years she'd lost, the future she'd imagined that would never materialize. But she was building something new now, a life of her own design, free from lies and pretense. And in a small flat in Lecky, 2 boys were growing up with a mother who'd survived hell and a father trying to earn back his humanity, all protected by a woman who'd chosen grace over bitterness. Maybe that wasn't the ending Amara had wanted when she stepped out of her luxury car 6 months ago to help a pregnant beggar. But as she drove through Lagos traffic, windows down, feeling the warm wind on her face, she realized it was the ending she needed. Sometimes kindness cracks open your world and lets all the ugly truth spill out. But if you're brave enough, if you choose grace over revenge, compassion over cruelty, that same crack can let in the light. And light, Amara had learned, was how you began to heal. Sometimes the greatest act of kindness is not avoiding pain, but walking through it with courage, grace, and an open heart. Because on the other side of betrayal, if you're brave enough to keep loving, you might just find the life you were always meant to live. If this story touched your heart, moved you, or made you think differently about grace and forgiveness, please like this video and subscribe to never miss our stories of strength, redemption, and the complicated beauty of human nature. Drop a comment. What would you have done in Amara's position? Could you have chosen grace over revenge? Thank you for going on this journey with us. Until next time, remember, your story isn't over. The next chapter is waiting to be written.